Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for what is today, Wednesday the 27th. And after today, there's only two more trading sessions to go for 2023. This will also be my last video of the year, and then we'll start fresh for the next year. If you are a member of Tribeca Trade Group, we're also giving a webinar that will be I believe, on Wednesday of next week. We're going to be talking about, goals and what our thought process is for next year. What we're going to be basically looking to do for next year, in terms of goals, in terms of tweaks to our trading plan. It doesn't matter how long you've been trading for, there's always improvements, right? There's nobody out there that is traded this year perfectly, right? And if you talk to anybody who is acting like that, they're probably the people that you want to unfollow, right? Because as long as I've been doing this, and the more that I talk to traders who trade for full time and have been doing it for a long time, right? There's always things that that you are trying to do to kind of get some improvements. There's never a point in time where you get to, oh, I've traded for 10 years full time and I know, but you're still battling with psychological issues and every day, in terms of trying to execute your trading plan perfectly. And when I say psychological issues, I mean, things, the voices like in the back of your mind that tell you like, oh, you should sell now instead of, riding the trend or basically, doing too much, trading too much when you should be trading less. Those are the types of things that I'm referring to, and I can go on and on about those things. So let me talk a little bit about. So first of all, what we're going to talk about next week, right? Is a little bit of what the valuaries are going to tell us for next year, right? This is the valuary for the S&P futures for this year, and it becomes very significant in terms because it contains all of the price, all of the volume from last year, which was obviously 2022. Right. And then this valuary, which you could see is still being formed. There's still two more trading days, so it's not completely done. But you could see the shape isn't going to change that much. Right. And we'll talk about what that means. Certainly IWM, by the way, when we look at the weekly chart, right, look at how significant that was earlier in the year. Right. We ran right into that and failed. Right. When the second time, same thing. Right. And then the third time was the charm. Now, also notice that the support held, and there was a little bit of a break there for a week and then a snapback move. And, IWM has been very interesting over the last couple months. And you could see what that's going to, how that's going to line up. So we'll talk about that as well. Right. And then, of course, we're going to talk about stocks like Zoom Video that have a super slim look at the valuary, how slim this is, right? Which means that this has been trading in a range, right? So we're going to talk about stocks like that. We're going to talk about stocks like Hood, right, which also have a very slim valuary and have been going sideways for a while. Remember, that's how a lot of stocks bottom. It's not, there's so many times that I see people putting out like a BABA chart or some other chart saying, oh my God, this name is going to reverse. What happens is sometimes the name will go up for a couple bucks and then it will resume its trend, to the downside. We could look at that chart too, right? Because I know everybody's talking about that, but who knows if that stock is done going down. It may rally for a couple points, right? Everything could rally for a couple points in a downtrend, but it doesn't look like it's spent enough time basing to me, right? I mean, it's just almost making fresh lows. Now, it could go sideways here and maybe get into the value area, but, and those will be things that we'll watch. I'm open to BABA, doing that, but it doesn't look like it's been what usually works for a name that's been in a downtrend for as long as BABA's been in a downtrend for is that it'll go sideways for a long time and people forget about it, right? Kind of like those two other names that I mentioned. I don't think many people are talking about those names now, but usually a name will have to go sideways for a while and then begin to kind of move up, right? And I think that's what you're seeing with some stocks, right? And that's called, you can use stage analysis, right? Like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. I don't know, I don't know if Bob is done with that yet, but it'll be a stock to watch, right? We'll be paying attention, especially to the underperformers, in the beginning of the year. So we'll be talking a lot about that next week. So make sure, I brought up the website. Make make sure that if you are not a member of Tribeca Trade Group, first of all, you can get a free look at our watch list and how I put together the watch list. Although you won't be getting all the charts because you won't be in Slack, but here's where you can get involved. And I would say, I would say if you are looking for new information, right, and to kind of get better at your trading, try it for a month, and this way you can come to next week's webinar. And then if you don't like it, you can cancel, right, and then go on with what you're doing. But as the year kind of gets done, and I'm going to talk about today's price action and so forth, but I think what's really important, and again, I begin to I start to have my deep thoughts on the year and what I want to do next year. I mean, number one, like today's price action, very, very slow. Right. And that's just sometimes what it's going to be like. Right now, we did resolve higher. We had a nice close at the end of the day, and some whippy price action. And really, like that's what we have in the last week of the year, because there's just not a lot of market participants that are trading. A lot of people are taking vacation this time of year. So, remember last week, right? Everybody was saying the market fell and everybody was looking for a reason. Nobody liked the reason that is what it is that there's low liquidity, right? And when there's going to be a big sell program, when somebody's, getting out of some risk and the market is super overbought, and people are going to, tag on to that, right? And then of course people are going to speculate to the downside, but everybody wants a culprit, right? Oh, it was 0-day options. That's what was the reason for it. That's such BS, but I get it. People oh, that's what it was, right? People want a villain or a culprit. I mean, that's what it was. It wasn't the fact that the market was super, super overbought. That had nothing to do with it, right? And that at some point, when the market gets super, super overbought, folks are going to take profits, right? And that kind of goes back to today, right? And what you're going to see probably the next 2 days, if there is some type of end of month or end of year type of rebalance, that some, pensions may be doing some rebalancing, right? It's going to probably kick around the market a bit. Now, I don't have a crystal ball, but you can kind of just, if you've been observing what's been going on with the market, it is moving a bit whippy because a lot of people are on vacation. So that's the first thing that I wanted to cover in today's video, is just to kind of realize that as we end up the year, what I did today was just unwind some positions because I won't be in the office, full time for the next 2 days. I'll be taking 2 half days basically for Thursday and Friday. So I won't be monitoring my positions, but it's not really worth risking if there is some type of a sell program that's going to push the market around, right? So that's just called being prepared, rather than reacting when it's too late. Right. We also talked about how you can kind of hedge with a really low cost like put fly for the end of the year, just so that you can participate. Right. Because I think the Almanac Trader, which I like his work. I put this out earlier. I talked about this yesterday. Whoops, what's happening here? Sorry about that. Something's not right in here, or with my mouse is wrong. There we go. But you could see the last 3 trading days, and specifically the last trading day for the Nasdaq has been down 17 of 23, 17 of the last 23 years. Right. So you have some information, right, that you could use to your advantage, right, to know some probabilities, right? The market is always about probabilities, right? So knowing that the last day of the year, NASDAQ has been down 17 of 23 years, do you want to be looking for big upside? Well, you can. I mean, there's not a 0% chance. There's 6 out of 23 years that the market went up. So there's something there. But will I be playing for big upside knowing those stats? No, I won't. Most of my positions will be closed out. I'll still have a couple swing trades on to enter the year of 2024, but there's no reason to mess with it when you've got stats like that. All right, so was today's price action. Quite boring, but we did resolve higher. What did well today? The diamonds actually did well today, right? You had a couple things like Walmart was doing very well. It kind of looked like early on that it was going to be more of like a value value groups, such as things like Walmart and so on and so forth, that were going to do better today. And for the most part, they did. The crypto stocks have been amazing. I think they are really running into what could be buy the rumor, sell the news once a Bitcoin ETF does get approved, right? Remember, that's how a lot of times how investing works, right? Is always buy the run up and then when the news actually comes out, because I think they might be making a decision possibly at the end of the year. Now, I don't know that for certainty, but when you look at what's going on, these names are all squeezing and pretty decently. So I wouldn't be surprised at this point once that Bitcoin ETF comes out, that you actually some of these things might take a breather. Now, I don't know if they sell off, but I mean, look at this. I own this in the TTG trend portfolio. We put this in a little over a month ago, and look at this thing. This is from 21 bucks basically to 32, right? And I think most of that is on the speculation that a Bitcoin ETF is going to be improved. So, I mean, that's a huge gain. This was your biggest. This was up another 4% today, right? It's pretty crazy because Bitcoin was up 3%, right? And these Bitcoin miners and some of the other players in this group are going up much faster than that. So again, the reason why I don't know that for sure about buy the rumor, sell the news, I just know that principle works in trading over and over and over again. So be mindful of that. I know that sometimes the crypto investors are super passionate, but you can take some profits, and then if it goes down a little bit, then you can kind of add back a bit. All right, so that was what really outperformed today, and then I'll talk about some of the stocks that I thought were really interesting. I came into today and the cyber software names were all kind of acting like they were turning higher, but they kind of didn't do much today, right? They started higher and you could see CrowdStrike. I'm still looking for 265 in my swing trade. I also think that Zscaler um, can get to this VPOC up here, which it almost did today, right? That almost did. And then a couple of the other ones, right, that everybody seems to be talking about. ESTC kind of failed a little bit for the day. So that's where my head was at, as well as the semi names too, which did okay today. I was impressed with AMD. Right, so AMD very strong in the semi space, up another 1.8%. Notice, there's so many names that are doing this, by the way, that moved up, rested a little bit, and are curling back up and breaking out to new highs. Uber's another one, has nothing to do with the semiconductors, right? Just spent some time, right? It's from the time that it made those highs, this was basically the 12th of December, hit this high, and then for the last couple of weeks, it's been doing this. It's just been digesting. There really hasn't been a major push until today, right? So I like this setup, right? Looking for the next leg higher in Uber. I'm going to talk a minute about some of my strategy too in just a second. Builder is another one too, right? Where it had a bunch of those inside days. Remember, I reviewed this stock last week and talked about how many days it kind of had an inside day off of this, right? Now resolving higher. Right, kind of like it did in here. Remember, so if you watch my videos, Builder was one the setup that I went over. I am long that name. Celsius is a new name for me that I got long. Again, talking about having patience. This thing hasn't done anything, and I think since it reported earnings, it's kind of been a non-event, this stock, but it's starting to kind of gear back up a little bit. So as I go through some of these names, and a couple other ones that I'm looking at too are Lilly. Lilly's trying to turn the corner here. I would watch 582.29, and then the other name too, Novo Nordisk, right, is spent some time a little, digesting here just above the value area and is trying to turn higher. Right, I look for my signals both on that daily chart and in the 1 hour. As long as it stays above 103.53, I think it's interesting. What else do I have? Yeah, I think that's enough stocks. But really, what I was just talking to another trader about this. What I tried to do, right? And we go to, a stock like Uber, for example, right? Is basically, and that's going to be a big part of next year. It's just looking for super stocks, right? Like this has been, right? Uber, what's Uber up this year? right? I know there's going to be so many notes that go out talking about performance, right, for what certain names have done. But what has Uber done for this year, right? It's up 155%, right? So that's kind of the goal of next year, is to find more stocks that are doing this. And I'll tell you, when you get into a stock, when you get into a trade, you don't know that a stock is going to go up 155% for the year. But what you try to do is stay in stocks that are trending, right? You really try to stay in them for as long as you possibly can, right? That's the whole goal, right? And to have, like, you're not going to find like 100 of these stocks, but maybe you can find 5 or 6 that are going to really make your year, right? DKNG was one stock has kind of stalled out and fizzled, but that's okay, right? But that made a lot of, that did very well for a lot of people, right? With this move over here, hasn't done much since. People are waiting for it to kind of wake up again. Some stocks will, some stocks won't, right? And then it's really, so some of these things you can kind of put on autopilot a little bit, right? You keep your trailing stop as a name goes up, and you really try to sit for the whole ride, right? And then if something changes, right, then you have to alter the plan. Right. And that's why I'm still in CrowdStrike and looking for that 265 VPOC. There really hasn't been a reason for me to take this stock off. Right. So I've been holding it and holding it. And sometimes it's quiet and it's boring and there's nothing going on, right, in this name, like for the last week. But it's just kind of resting right now. Right. There's no reason to sell it. It's not breaking down. And it's also still overbought, so it's still working that off. But really, that's the one of the goals for next year, is just to find these stocks and and stay in them. And when I say find these stocks, right, it's not like you have to go on a hunt, right? Because you don't know once they're starting to move whether it's going to happen, right? So that's why you hold some maybe a portfolio or just some swing trades, depending how the market is acting, right? And you kind of think of them as candidates, like, hey, this one could be a really good stock for this year. But you never know once you're in the stock. But and as the year goes on, or the month or the week, right, you get out of the ones that are not acting like this. So it becomes a little bit of a process of elimination. But you have to be okay with with selling stocks that aren't winners all the time, right? Because like I said, right, I have stocks all the time that I try. And if they don't work and then they start moving lower, you get out of them, right? And the whole thing is just, it's okay to have those small losses, right? Now, nobody wants a lot of losses, but that's the process that you go through, and saying, hey, this one was not it, right? It's kind of like somebody told me this about something else. But this is a bad comparison, but it's the end of the year and I'm kind of making jokes. But it's kind of like dating a little bit too, right? You date someone for a little while, you figure out whether you like them or you don't. You don't like them, you break up with them. You break up with the stock and you move on, and you try to find one that's really going that is really going to work well, in the end. And again, so I'll get away from that comparison. But with the stock, then your job is to sit and monitor and wait and watch for anything that changes significantly, and know that not every stock is going to work out. So anyway, I hope that helps. The reason why I kind of go through that a little bit is because I'll tell you, I don't think people, when they get into trading, really they have an idea of what they're looking to accomplish. Like, besides make money, everybody gets, oh, I want to make money. Okay, well, how are you going to do that, right? Is it, I get a number of people who think following option activity is like the holy grail for them, and then it takes them a little while once they lose money for trying to do that strategy, right? There's so many traders who go through that. They think, oh my God, I got to follow this order because they know. The 80%, 90% of the order flow that you see on the screen, no matter how aggressive it's bought, they don't know. So I have to do a lot of it, in my trading room. I have to do a lot of untraining of these things that people learn on Twitter, right? And then it's funny. Sometimes I talk to traders. I'm like, look at this stock. You saw option activity in it yesterday, and the stock's down 3-4% today. What are you going to do? You're going to hold on to it because you saw bullish option activity? And then they'll come up with an excuse, right? They'll basically say, oh, well, maybe they were disguising the order. You just have to get used to that. A lot of times the traders who are executing that orders, they're going to be wrong. And people hate that. People hate to hear that the order flow is wrong. No, no, no. They that's not what, they went wrong. Maybe they were trying to disguise the order, or they sold stock or something. No, hedge funds are wrong. If you're following order flow, but a lot of it is from hedge funds. Are a lot of hedge funds beating the S&P this year? No, they're not. So you're following order flow that is a lot of times, underachieving, right? And they're losing out. So again, there is a small quantity of orders that they do know something, and that screws people's minds up, because then they think, oh my God, I caught this order and boom, there was an upgrade, or there was a drug study and the stock went up. Oh my God, I'm going to keep doing that. And then what I find is a lot of traders, they keep doing that and then they give back all the profits. So why am I going through this with you? Because it is what I go through with a lot of traders that I see come through, who think that they're going to follow option activity. And that's not really a great plan, in my opinion, right? You've got to have a better plan than that. Now, you could use option flow for momentum, and you could use it for trading ideas. That's perfectly fine. But to think that you're going to stay in orders just because, or stay in a trade just because you saw option activity, and you're going to get anchored to the name and not look at anything else, right? You're going to have a very difficult time, in my opinion. So in any event, we're going to go through more of this on Wednesday of next week and talk about more of our trading plan, and the technicals as well. All right, and where there could be some good opportunities for next year. Guys, have a great night. Hope you had a Merry Christmas and have a Happy New Year, because again, this will be the last public video of this year, and I'll be back next year with the public videos. Have a great night, everybody.